Hi there, Titans, and welcome back to another Titan Academy video. Today we'll be talking about the advanced features on your push integration with Salesforce. First, I'll show you a general overview of the different advanced options, and then we'll look at some specific advanced options as examples, such as the Do Not Override If Empty option, the Allow Duplicate option, and the Send Error To option. Let's get started. So I've already created this form and just a basic contact create form with a submit button that pushes the contact to Salesforce. And I've already set up the mapping for this. So as you can see, all my fields are already mapped here. And if I head over to the Advanced tab, we can see a number of options in front of us. We won't cover everything today, but I'll just highlight a few important ones that are good to know about, and you can watch specific videos about these features as well. So first of all, we have here an option for Verify CAPTCHA. And this will allow you to secure your form and make sure that no malicious actor is trying to access your form or trying to push data to Salesforce. And so you can actually turn this on and use Google CAPTCHA and use a key from Google in order to make sure that your integration is completely secure. And we have a different video showing exactly how to do that. Another option here is to use upon payment. This is if you ever have a payment integration and you want to push data to Salesforce upon completion of that payment, then you would need to make sure that your integration has this ticked. And again, we have a video showing exactly how to set up your payment. And in that video, you can also see how you can use the Salesforce integration on the end. Finally, we also have Save to Submissions here. This is another very important feature. It helps you back up data. So for example, if I were to create a contact and I want to also save that data on an object that's part of the Titan package called My Submissions, I can do so by clicking the Save to My Submissions. And this would essentially create a backup of that data in case the data failed any validations in Salesforce, or for some reason that record wasn't created in Salesforce. It would be all inside a JSON that's related to this My Submissions object. I recommend checking out the video on this as well. It can be super helpful. All right, moving on, let's look at some concrete examples here. So we'll start with the Do Not Override If Empty. And what this essentially is good for is it makes sure that even if my end user is pushing an empty value to Salesforce, that empty value is not going to override existing data in Salesforce. So let's take a look at a record that already exists here. We have here Andy Young. And I'm going to go ahead and change this to update so that we can update an existing record. And my condition is going to be that the record ID matches this exact contact. That's the contact that I want to update. And I'll go ahead and apply. And let's just double check that we've turned on. It looks like we have Do Not Override If Empty. And now I'm going to save and preview. And notice what will happen here. So I'm going to leave the Andy out. I'm just going to change the last name to Younger. And we'll also leave the email out. And I'll go ahead and submit. All right. I'm going to refresh in Salesforce. And notice that the last name changed, but the first name and the email, which I excluded, didn't get overrun with empty data. Instead, the old data is still there. I'm going to go ahead and quickly turn this off just to see what would happen normally when you push empty data. So I'll turn that off. And I'll refresh here. And we'll change this back to Young. And I'll submit. And we'll refresh. And notice that now we actually lost the first name entirely, and we also lost the email. And that's because that data was overridden by the empty value that I pushed to Salesforce. All right, so that's the first very important feature, and this can be really handy if you want to make sure that your end user is not accidentally overrunning important values in Salesforce. All right, let's head over to Advanced again. And the next important feature I want to take a look at is the Allow Duplicate. Now, I have here a duplicate rule in Salesforce for contact, which says that if the first name and the last name matches a contact in Salesforce, then it won't allow me to create it, or it at least will give me a warning because I already have a contact with those details. Now, for this to work, you need to make sure that you have allow on. If you do block, what I'm about to show you will not work, and we cannot override the block, but we can override the allow, which essentially is just giving you an alert. And this will allow me to actually create a duplicate in Salesforce even with this rule on. So let's take a look at that. First, let's try without turning it on. And I'm just going to go ahead and try to create a record with the exact details I have here, Andy Young. We can see Andy Young already exists in Salesforce here. And now let's try to push it again. And I'm going to head over to my integration logs. Sorry, one more moment. Let's make sure that this is the exact same. Okay, I know why, because we're doing updates, so let's just correct that mistake quickly. We'll head over to the push, and we'll change this to create. And now we should get that error, because instead of updating the contact, it will try to create a new one. So let's go ahead and save. We'll refresh. And let's do Andy Young. We'll try to push this. And now we should be getting an error that we have a duplicate. Now, in order to override this error, we can go ahead and turn on the allow duplicate. We'll save, refresh, and we'll try again. And as you can see, this time the contact was created, and we've created a new record in Salesforce for Andy Young, and it overrided the duplicate. Now, keep in mind this will only work for certain standard objects, such as contact, account, and leads. So this won't work for every object in Salesforce, but certain standard objects this will work for. All right, the last one I want to show is the send map error to. And what this allows me to do is map an error to some variable in my project. These are errors that return from Salesforce based on the integration. I can do a lot with these errors. I can push them to Salesforce. I can show them to my end user. For now, we'll just show you how it will appear in the variable. So again, we'll click map error and we'll select the variable from our project. I've already set up a variable, but if you have not, you'll head over to your pages, or you can also do this with a project level variable. Here I've created my variable error var, and this is what will be populated. Now, just for our demonstration, I'm also going to turn on the debug mode so that we can see that variable. And let's go ahead and run it again. And this time, I'm just going to try to create something without a last name. I should get an error for not having the required field of last name here. And there it is. My error from Salesforce appears here in my variable. And again, I can push this to Salesforce. I can show this to my end user however I'd like. And that's how it's done.